Hackney. I'm Chief Detective with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. I want to call you together tonight. Yesterday we released some information about a serial sex crimes case that we had in the works. This is the lewd, lascivious case involving the white male and the black VW. I'd like to announce that this evening we have made an arrest in the case. I was going to kind of go over, again, first some of the facts of the case, kind of how this case came together, and walk you through just more about the case. This year, on the 13th of October, we had a case that involved a black female victim in the 11,000 block of Lazy Willow Lane. This is out in the Mandarin area. This case involved the white male and the black VW. That case was assigned to our detectives at that time. Shortly thereafter, on the 20th of October, another case came up from the Arlington area. This case also involving a white male and a black VW beetle bug. When we got those cases together, the Detective and Sex Crimes Unit recognized the fact that these two cases, A, were connected, but also the fact that these cases resembled some other cases they had seen previously this year and some into last year. So between our Crime Analysis Unit, Detectives from the Sex Crimes Unit, did some research to go back and look historically what we have. Our Crime Analysis Unit monitors these cases very closely, watching for similar signs. These usually come in groups that kind of cluster close together, as ours did in October, here now. The information that they had was looking into October. We stretched it back a year. Come to find out, September 23rd of last year, and this was information that was given out yesterday, September 23rd of last year, the same description in the Arlington area, a white male and a black beetle bug, approaching young females, children 11, 12, up to 16 years of age, engaging in conversation, exposing themselves to them, and then driving off. When we went back through them, we developed at least 6 cases between last year and this year. Brought the victims in from this year's cases. What we'll do is, in these cases typically, is try to make a determination who we can of who owns a black beetle bug, white males, suspicious contacts, those kind of things. In these particular cases, we had 2 of the sketches drawn. Those were what were released yesterday. Our sheriff talks many times about community involvement. Within at least 2 hours of those sketches being released to the news media yesterday, and y'all's effort in putting that out there, we had received several tips that led us to the suspect who we brought into custody this afternoon. And these tips came, they were very specific. This is him, he looks just like this, he drives a black beetle bug, even suspecting him of similar type cases. We located him this afternoon, brought him down. After several hours of interviewing, he has made confessions linking himself to almost every one of these cases. We did have a case, and I'm not sure whether this has actually been released to you or not as of yet. The night before last, there was a 20-year-old black female victim who was in her vehicle, was approached by a white male and a black beetle bug on Southside Boulevard. He got her attention either with a flashlight or a cell phone, caused her to look over. He followed her for some length into a parking lot of a then open business, exposed himself to her as well, fled from her, scared her to death. He has linked himself to that case as well. This is a joint effort not only between the units, the sex crimes unit that I talked about in crime analysis, to put these cases together, but the level of cooperation from the public here, it was swift, and it goes to show that when the public takes the time, picks up the phone, tells what they know, and I've said this before in other cases, it may be the one little thing that nobody thinks is important that they call and make the call to. This is the case that led this to come to pass. It led us to having him in our custody within a very short period of time after that, and again, led these cases to close. Detective Lashante Whitaker from Sex Crimes, Detective Jesse Maynard, and Detective Chris Brown were the 3 leads on this case. Their work was tireless since these first cases came together to try to piece together the little facts about these cases. You have child victims, they remember sporadic things about this. Luckily, the kind of car was fairly distinctive in this case, and not just the generic description, but a black beetle bug is is something that really stood out. At this point in time, we're not going to release his name. What I'd like to ask the media's cooperation in is to not try to research that information. Tomorrow, these detectives have a few more photo spreads to show to some of these other victims in this case. If that photo gets out from the arrest or from any of his social media sites that you may be able to find, or from his first appearance, I would please caution against trying to put a photo album out that you may obtain at a first appearance. I will not be able to use those cases against those children against this man. This is a man who left his residence seeking out child victims to do this to. These are bad cases, these are multiple cases, and as demonstrated with the case from the night before last, escalated in nature, as do typically many of these sex crimes. So to put his picture out would hamper the case quite drastically. I want to make as strong a case as I can against this guy and put him in prison for quite some time where he belongs to be. I can assure you that once our investigative efforts are done, hopefully before your noontime news tomorrow, I will have a photo of him out and his arrest document, his background.
Can you tell us his age?
He is a 24-year-old white male.
23?
24-year-old white
And where was he picked up, at his home? Or?
He was picked up at his work in the Mayport area.
So he was working out at Mayport, meaning the naval station area, or just Mayport in general?
I'll release more about that tomorrow, but it was in the Mayport area.
Did he intend to harm any of these children, or even the 20-year-old, or why do you think he went from children to the 20-year-old?
The victim in the case from the night before last, she looked young. It may be a case of mistaken identity, that he thought she may have been of just barely driving age. It's really hard to make a determination. He was specific in some of his conversations about the victims that he picked.
In terms of what they looked like?
Just in terms of their age and how he would approach them. This is an escalating type of behavior, and not just in his case, but in many of these sex crimes cases. And it was even demonstrated in this case that it goes from a looking to trying to engage them, from the exhibitionist type behavior. In here, he actually chased this young woman in her car to further that along a little bit. The urgency that we had was to get his picture out. Once we had a good ability to put something out, as opposed to just a beetle bug that would have developed probably more leads than we would have wanted to. But the combination of the beetle bug and those came together very well, actually.
So how far did he go in the sexual assaults, as far as you guys know? What was the level?
From what we've been able to determine now, these are just lewd exhibitions of himself to these kids. We don't have anything that we've been able to identify now that he's associated with where he's actually physically harmed anybody by touching them. But I also, by some of the information that he's given, I would not be surprised if there are many, many more victims of the same type of behavior who maybe have not reported these cases. We find that to be the case many times, is that children don't tell their parents, children don't tell anybody in school, or adults who this may have happened to just write it off as a pervert or a sicko. We would ask anybody else who's had contact with this individual to come forward and let us know. We would like to talk with you, find out other details about this, or anybody else who has any information in general.
Did he track down some of these victims, or certain areas that he target? Why those 6 different areas?
Most of the associations that we have found in these particular areas, it related to either where he was living or working at the time, or one of the areas was associated with where his parents lived.
Is he married with kids, anything like that you can say?
No, it does not appear that he's married or has been married. No kids.
And the self-gratification part, is that something that you guys believe he did do?
Oh, without a doubt. That's the motive behind how he's approaching and what he's doing.
Okay. But as of now, the conduct, not to downplay it, but it's limited to exhibitionists. Is that correct?
At this point in time, it's limited to a lewd exhibition to these kids.
What's the exact charges and how many?
I will get that docket for you. You'll have that information tomorrow. So.
Any other questions?
You said your title was Chief of Detectives,
Chief of Detective.
not Investigations.
Well, Chief of Investigations.
So it is chief of investigation?
It's chief of investigation.
Either
That's the
way.
I have another question.
Sure.
So we're saying back to 2010, do you think there could have been any cases prior to 2010?
I would not be the least bit surprised if there was cases dating back years.
Is there a statute of limitations?
There is, but probably with him and his age, I would think that would be well within any statute of limitations.
You said
we'd
you
like
had
to
some
talk-
conversations with him. Is there any indication as to why he wanted to do that? I know there's lots of, psychoanalysis behind it, but did he acknowledge any particular reason for doing this?
He acknowledged he had a problem, and that this is associated with that problem.
Does he have any other criminal record?
No.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.